This is the integration page on XSOAR where you can find the list of all the integrations that are available out of the box. You can search for the integration Clarity by simply typing the keyword Clarity on the search bar. Adding an instance of Clarity in XSOAR is very straightforward and simple. You just need to add the CTD server URL, username, password, make certain optional selections. You also have the ability to tag the incident type. Here I have added Clarity Security Incident. You can also provide additional parameters to configure Clarity integration, such as the initial time to fetch from, minimal severity to fetch by, site ID to fetch by alert type, as well as ability to take advantage of some of the advanced capabilities that XSOAR provides, such as adding an engine or resetting the last timestamp, use an engine to use it as load balancing group, because there are customers who have air-gapped network wherein you could actually take advantage of XSOAR engines to be used as proxies and as load balancing to have the integration of Clarity with XSOAR. Lastly, you also have ability to either fetch instance or do not fetch. You can test the integration by clicking on the test button, and you can have multiple instances of the same integration. So if you have more than one Clarity instance running, you can configure those by clicking on add instance and adding those instances into XSOAR. XSOAR also provides a list of all the commands that are made available by virtue of this integration. So if you click on show commands, you get to view the list of all the commands. So here, as you see, there are 4 commands that are developed and provided out of the box: Clarity get assets, get single alert, query alerts, and resolve alert. You can also clone and duplicate this integration and also view the source code of this integration. If you would want to go ahead and edit this integration, that's possible as well. All of these commands can be used from the built-in command line interface located right below on the same UI. So let's go ahead and try a couple of Clarity commands. So Clarity get assets will execute in the playground. A playground is a sandbox environment where analysts can execute these commands on ad hoc basis. So the Clarity get assets provided us with a list of all the assets that are present in this environment. Similarly, let's try Clarity get alert for the alert ID 23. So you got all the alert details, including alert type, type ID, category, description, indicator, network ID, related assets, etc. All of these Clarity commands can be used in the Playbook and also can be viewed in this automation browser. XSOAR provides a number of built-in out-of-the-box playbooks, and let's go ahead and take a look at the Clarity playbooks. So you can search for Clarity out-of-the-box playbooks by going to the Playbook section and just typing the keyword Clarity. So as you see, we have 2 out-of-the-box playbook at this time. We are going to work with many more of such playbooks in future. The Clarity Incident Playbook provides an automated alert ingestion and event resolution in Clarity. And the Clarity Manage Asset CVE's playbook gets asset CVE information from Clarity and orchestrates the vulnerability management and remediation procedures in Cortex XSOAR. Let's take a look at one of the custom playbooks that I have developed by referring to some of our out-of-the-box content. This playbook, WannaCry Response for ICS Systems, helps in bringing standardization in the way an organization would respond to a ransomware attack, such as WannaCry, by automating as many response actions possible and enforcing SLAs for both automations and for human actions. As we all know, WannaCry exploits the Eternal Blue vulnerability and installs a backdoor, such as the double pulsar, through which it deploys the malware on a victim machine such as an HMI or an engineering workstation. The ransomware attempts to reach a predefined domain called the kill switch. Unless it successfully establishes connections with the kill switch, the WannaCry continues encrypting the data on the endpoint, displaying a demand for ransom. Assuming the organization did not roll out the Microsoft patches, let's see how an XSOAR playbook would help speed up the response processes. For the purpose of this demo, let's assume that the operator is using a Windows OS endpoint to connect to a PLC that is being used to control an assembly line of a chemical plant. Let's take a look at this playbook in detail. Different organizations have different standard operating procedures and best practices to deal with a ransomware attack. A lot is also dependent on the ICS environment that differs from an organization to another. This playbook has three initial flows. The first flow gets alert details from Clarity, it gets asset details from Clarity, and the third task lists the impacted ICS systems, then notifies the team lead to confirm if it is a false positive, then notifies the IT about the end user details for replacing the device. The second flow gets the asset CVE information, additional context around the CVE information, prints the CVE IDs, and then goes on to notify the vulnerability management team to trigger the vulnerability management procedures. Over here, the vulnerability management integrations that Cortex XSOAR has with various other vendors is actually used to get the patch and also deploy the patch within the SLA timeframe. A third flow, as you see, is automatically assigning the incident ownership to the most appropriate analyst. Cortex XSOAR provides the ability to engage an analyst depending on the level of expertise, area of expertise, availability, as well as an ad hoc basis. Next, the Cortex XDR integration in Cortex XSOAR fetches the endpoint details. Cortex XSOAR sends its D2 agent to connect to the endpoint and captures the file and process information from the endpoint. Even during a ransomware attack, it is imperative for organizations to maintain business continuity. The analyst switches the HMI workstations. Depending on the configuration, this can be done automatically or manually. Then finally, the analyst examines the endpoint for running processes, file information, also performs a file reputation, prints the file path information, and sends it for the team lead to review. From a response perspective, Cortex XSOAR automatically triggers a local containment at network level using the Cortex XDR integration. It also adds the hashes to global quarantine automatically, as well as blocks IP in Palo Alto Networks Panorama firewall. Post which, the remediation procedures follows, and the workflow over here performs retroactive analysis by identifying any other impacted endpoints using Cortex XDR integration, also provides the end user with a remediation guidance as well as links to training. It also examines social engineering activities, and for this purpose, Cortex XSOAR automatically sends a questionnaire to the employee to get initial feedback, and based on the investigation for any possible social engineering and any other insider threat, it captures and documents all the information. And the third workflow over here queries Cortex XSOAR to get any associated phishing emails. So the last task also checks if a URL was delivered to anyone else in the organization if it was a phishing attack. And finally, an investigation summary report is automatically generated and circulated to the stakeholders that captures all the information that went through in this incident response as well as the investigation process. Let's now take a look at the WannaCry ransomware response playbook in action. During the course of usual monitoring, the security operations analyst finds 4 critical Clarity security incident type alerts appearing on the XSOAR screen. As you see, these alerts are named known threat and have been ingested from Clarity. So let's take a look at these alerts. So these alerts read OS Windows, Microsoft Windows SMB remote code execution attempt was detected. WannaCry threat IPC request to 172.16.99.5, which is a hard-coded WannaCry IP, was detected. Threat ET exploit possible Eternal Blue probe was detected. Exploit Eternal Blue probe vulnerable systems response was detected. So these are really critical severity alerts getting ingested from Clarity. There is an SLA which is associated with all of these alerts by virtue of the playbooks that are already tagged for these alerts. So you see WannaCry ransomware response playbook for ICS systems automatically executes the moment we start the investigation. So let's go ahead and take a look at the playbook in action. The playbook automatically runs at machine speed and completes all the tasks, including automations as well as manual tasks. It automatically gets the right analyst information to assign ownership of the incident. For example, the playbook looks at the analyst's area of expertise and availability based on the SOC shifts. It enforces the SLA, sends notifications to analysts on email or XSOAR's mobile app, as well as captures data from various different sources as it executes. The playbook also pauses to receive an analyst approval before resuming wherever applicable. The playbook output is made readily available in real time on the Warrant Section that we'll review shortly. Without Cortex XSOAR, this response procedure would have been a manual process, taking uncertain amount of time to complete, making it hard to meet SLA. XSOAR also removes the human error by automating most of the critical data gathering and orchestration tasks. Now that the playbook has automatically run and completed all the tasks, let's go ahead and review the output for each task. So the playbook has got alert details from Clarity. So the alert type is known threat alert, type ID is 23, category is security, there's a description. You also have the indicator ID, network ID, related assets. You can also view complete information if you click on the view full content in a new tab. We also have complete asset details, including the asset ID, which is 4. Asset type is a PLC, which is very important to note. We also have the complete CVE information. The class type, it's an OT type, high criticality. We also have the firmware version, the CVE score, the IP address involved here, the insight name, last seen, the MAC address, the name, which is chemical plant, resource ID, risk level, and the vendor information, as well as the virtual zone. So it's interesting to know it's a Rockwell Automation OT type asset, and it's a PLC, which is a programmable logic controller. And the list of impacted ICS system, it is a PLC. And similarly, we have complete CVE information, including the CVE ID, which is located here. And parallelly, this playbook has been assigned to an owner, which is an admin right here, automatically. Let's take a look at the vulnerability management procedures. So the team was notified on email. Cortex XSOAR has orchestrated the response action to go fetch the patch using the BigFix integration. So there is the patch information, and it looks like it has already deployed the patch as well. Let's move on to view the endpoint information. So Cortex XSOAR has a rich integration with Cortex XDR. Details over here, including the domain, endpoint ID, name, status, and the OS type. And we also have the D2 agent that has fetched us the name of the file that is printed here. We also have the file reputation check. And it is very interesting to note that the actors here, one of the actors is Shadow Brokers, which is a well-known actor in the space. It is not benign, which means that it is malicious. It is WannaCry malware. It's clearly notified here, and we can also view complete information clicking this link. And as you notice, this specific output is already marked as evidence as well as note right from here. So malicious files were found, print the file path information, and then parallelly there is the HMI system has been switched. So once the analyst is notified and reviewed, the team lead has approved this action. Let's move on to the response procedures. So the Cortex XDR integration has isolated this specific endpoint at network level. It has added hashes to global quarantine, and it has also blocked the IP using the Panorama register IP tag, which is one of the commands by virtue of Panorama integration. Moving on to the remediation procedures, there are other endpoints clearly which are also impacted, and we have fetched those details from Cortex XDR. And we also sent an email along with all the remediation guidance as well as link to training to those end users as well. We have also sent the questionnaire to the end user that is impacted, and we have received all the responses from the end user and documented if there were any social engineering activity involved. And finally, we are also seeing here whether there was any suspicious email phishing activity. And I think there was some suspicious phishing activity involved. Uh, and let's go ahead and see if the email also got delivered to other users. And it looks like yes, the email was also delivered to many other users. It means the emails contain the malicious URL. Lastly, there's an investigation summary report which captures pretty much all the information, and this email report was emailed to all the stakeholders. So this playbook has successfully executed. Now that the playbook has successfully accomplished all the response and remediation procedures, let's examine how other sections of Cortex XSOAR can actually help us in decisively completing the investigation and arriving at meaningful conclusions. So the War Room section documents all the artifacts and output of the playbook tasks, including any communication or collaboration activities that went across in responding to this particular incident. Each of this artifact can be marked as evidence, note, can be detached from the task, download, or even can be added to the tags. And using the tags, you could easily search and filter on all of these artifacts. The command line interface also doubles up as a chat ops capability. You could easily collaborate with other users in the security operations team or even outside SOC. Cortex XSOAR also has a powerful case management functionality. So the case details are readily available on the incident information page, including the case type, severity, owner, source brand, source instance, the playbook associated with the incident, the alert information details, evidence, if any, notes, team members involved in the investigation, any link incident, indicators, as well as linked incidents. The linked incidents really tells us what are the alerts that went before or after this specific incident. So exploit Eternal Blue probe vulnerable system response as well as Microsoft Windows SMB remote code execution attempt are directly related and linked. You can also create your own customizable dashboards using the powerful widget functionality. So as you see here, we have displayed all the asset information and detailed information from Clarity regarding this incident investigation. So you have the resource ID, network ID, alert type, firmware version, Clarity indicator information, as well as insight name, device IP, MAC address, the vendor details of this particular asset, as well as the incident name. And also, if you want specific information, in this case, we would definitely want the specific information around the ICS system, which is PLC from Rockwell, and the vulnerability associated with it. And all the vulnerability information and CVE IDs are located right here. The evidence board section has got automatically populated with the list of actions that were marked as evidence from the playbook itself. The evidence board really helps in performing retrospective analysis because you get to view a chronological list of activities. So you got to have the asset details, the impacted ICS system, CV information, the file reputation, hashes added to quarantine, the block IP action firewall, related incidents, list of employees that were actually received the phishing email, and so on and so forth. Let's move on to the related incidents page. So as you see here, there is the incident 63281, which is linked to 63279. So as you see, it contains the same IPs and it has actually occurred around the same time frame. Similarly, I have another incident 63278, which is pretty much similar to the incident currently under investigation. And these incidents is Microsoft SMB remote execution attempt. And as we saw, the initial malware was delivered during a phishing attack. So let's go and open the phishing investigation and go to the canvas section of that specific phishing incident. Canvas is a good visual correlation that links indicators to incidents. The incident currently under investigation 63279 is linked to the phishing response investigation. So you see here you have the IP address, which is really common to the phishing incident right here, and the incident which is under current investigation, which is the WannaCry malware, and you have this linked further to this endpoint. So this really shows you how Cortex XSOAR brings all different incidents involved in a larger investigation and makes it really easy for the security operation team to decisively investigate and arrive at meaningful conclusions.